welcome back to another episode of Ask Someone Else with yours truly, Property by Kazi, and a special guest each and every week. Whilst we get everybody to join, for those that are listening, those that want to listen, we're now available on Amazon Music, or Amazon Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So if you do miss this or are catching bits of it or have to shoot out, you can always go back and catch it there later. It's also going to be uploaded on the YouTube, Property by Kazi, all one word. So make sure you're following. If you've got any friends that you think could benefit from some property knowledge, make sure you get them in. We're on catch up at the moment because we're on Jamaica time, hence the tan. Do you know what I mean? If you're on Spotify, you can't see that right now, but just trust me, I'm glowing, as I said last week. Let me add our guest today. So our guest today was actually a legend. She was the first person to ever miss an episode, but because I know she has such good energy, regardless, I've just invited her in. Whilst we are waiting for her to join, oh, she's here. It's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Not a legend.
You're a legend. You're the first person not to attend. So you're officially a legend.
It was a misunderstanding.
I hear you, but don't worry, we're going to get involved. Oh, Daniel Moses, nice to see you in the building. Blacks, also nice to see you in the building. A lot of familiar phrases here. So, like I said, if you think of anybody else who you'd like to invite, or you think of someone who would benefit from today, please get them in. Again, we're going to be asking questions around the property space whilst Kelly stays hydrated. That looks like some premium water. Careful, you almost spat that out there.
Aqua Vita, if you don't drink this, then I don't know for you.
I'm a massive fan that you can't beat Highland Springs. I'll be honest with you. Like, it's the best water.
What?
It's the best water.
Okay.
I'll be so honest. I'm gonna run a poll actually, but it's genuinely the best water. Oh, CEO Cost, my guy, how you doing?
Hello.
Good to see you. Anyway,
have you tried this?
I'm not listening because you were late last time. I didn't attend, so just enjoy your water. Fantastic. Anyway, I think today I really wanted to get you on because you're somebody I think you can tell from our conversation already that I actually know in real life, as I wouldn't be this rude to somebody that I don't know. I highlighted the topic quite interestingly as pivoting in property because, sorry, I've got to pause for a second. CEO Cost, are you okay? Smart water.
Oh, no.
That's horrible water.
How can you say that?
Smart water. No. Do you know what? Just delete my podcast from your channel. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, that's poor.
That's poor from you. Listen, Highland Springs. Thank you, Bree. I know you agreed with me. No. Highland Springs all the way.
I'm concerned that people don't know about Aqua Vita. All I'm going to say is it's 8.5 on the pH level, which is where it's supposed to be. You're drinking some 6 point something water. I don't know why.
Listen, but again, we diversify. So yeah, if you've got when you start to learn more about Kelly, you can get questions. I'd advise you use the question box just so we can make sure that, we do get them directly over to her. So I was saying one of the reasons why I wanted to get Kelly on was because I actually initially met Kelly as a sourcer. So that's how I met her, as somebody who was doing sourcing for property deals, but more in particular rent-to-rent deals. You can see by her Instagram name, her name is Kelly Upstaged, because there was staging going on, there was other stuff going on within the property space. I now know Kelly, and Kelly's very, very well known and professional in the space for insurance, be that personal protection insurance, health insurance, life insurance, etc. She's going to talk more about the importance of that, particularly as being entrepreneurs. But what I think is very interesting about your journey, and I know you're doing a lot more in property as well. I know we just spoke about you having an offer accepted, but the way you've managed to pivot and negotiate in this property space whilst for a lot of the time still maintaining a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
So go on, talk to us about your journey.
So yes, obviously I know Kaz, say being a sourcer at first. He came on my radar because I was like, oh, there's a guy here doing rent to rent. He's not really going about teaching people, but he's showing us that it can be done. Obviously, you've been super successful in that space. So I was like, obviously, if I'm doing staging, you want a big job, who do you contact? Let me go and find the most accessible person who's doing the most. So I was like, yeah, this is you. Staging happened by accident. I met like a really rich guy who was massive in the property space, and now he owns hotels in like King's Cross and stuff. And he was like, I need to dress at Airbnb. Now, obviously, a lot of Airbnbs are on the back of rent-to-renters, and so was his. And he was like, I need to dress it from top to bottom. And I was like, oh, I could do that in my sleep. That's how staging was born. Then went on to have like links with estate agents, and so that made good money quickly. And that was kind of my first cash injection. I was like, do you know what? I can do rent to rent. I can teach a few people how to rent to rent. I can buy properties. I can flip them, but I don't really speak about that much. But on like this one, that myself, my business partner, have a big up. What's her Insta? She Talks Finance UK. Angie had a really cute offer accepted in Stoke-on-Trent, and what we're going to do with it is a little bit out of the ordinary, but yeah, we're going to share the whole journey.
Are you not going to give us the sneak peek? You can't just say that and then not tell give us something.
No, I can't. I can't. No. So the offer was really cheeky. It was 97k. It's a 4-bedroom HMO. But we're not planning to hold on to it for very long, and that's all I can say. We're not holding on to it for any portion of time at all. But we just got to get like a 6-week renovation out of the way. Obviously, the offer was only accepted 2 weeks ago, so we're in the middle of searches, all of the boring stuff that takes weeks, and then after that, boom, you lot will know exactly.
Okay, so are you planning? So when you say you've got a 6-week renovation, are you trying to get like a key release prior to completion? Or are you complete? Okay. No,
I'm trying to get a key release prior to completion. It's looking promising. There's no chain. And the current owner, I've never seen someone who wants to get rid of a house so much. Like, basically, when I went to view it, it was sold. About 8 weeks ago, it was sold subject to contract. And right at the very end, the guy couldn't complete. So, obviously, this is where having really good relationships with a estate agent comes into its own right, because the girl calls me, she's like, hey Kels, it's gone tits up, like, do you want it? I was like, yeah, let me come and quickly remind myself. When I looked at it, the owner had decided halfway through that, I'm going to renovate this. Like halfway through she's a little bit weird, decided she's going to renovate it, started doing some of the works, and then it's like one day she just came in and said, forget this. Like the sink was in the front room, the pipes were not, like, she literally had enough. So I think getting key before completion it's not going to be a problem.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, like a key release is effectively when you have a period of access prior to completion. So sometimes you even exchange, and you can exchange with like a nominal amount, not necessarily the full 10% exchange. You can exchange with maybe £500 or £5,000, for example. The vendor would then give you access to the property to do a certain amount of works, which would mean, depending on what you were doing, one of the reasons for that is let's say, for example, the property wasn't habitable in its current state, but you wanted to buy it on a buy-to-let mortgage. A key release would allow you to effectively use more conventional finance like a buy-to-let rather than using a bridge to save on, your finance costs, which is a good. And I think a lot of the time, it is when people talk about like, the benefits of courses or joining networking groups or, masterminds and stuff like that. And there are a lot of negatives. A lot of the positives around them are the fact that it gives you insight to not just do everything the most straightforward or basic way from day one. Yeah. You can use creative finance and make your money work harder for you effectively.
Definitely. And then as well, having your little power teams, like my mortgage broker, she's second to none. Like, she is the baddest, one of the baddest. She can get anything done. So,
and you've not shared the details. I've never heard of this broker before.
Have you not?
Do you see how you work? Do you see how you are?
We got mortgage broker mummy, Katie, from Lifetime Mortgages. She is like, I'll write it in a second. Like, she's a wizard.
Okay.
If you're self-employed, especially if you don't have like a conventional job as in a 9 to 5, or you're self-employed, or anything that's what you would not think that you could sort out, she can sort it out.
Okay, yeah, I definitely think people would appreciate if you share those details. So when you get a second, I'll talk and entertain whilst you're doing that. Alfred, it's good to see you in the building. Shout out Alfred. You know I can't pronounce your last name, so I'm not going to say it. However, I'm going to thank Alfred because he's pretty much always here, always supporting, always laughing at me, but still always here. So it's much appreciated, Alfred. Thank you. So yeah, that's that. Just put that in there. So now, one of the other reasons why I really wanted to get you on, Kelly, is talk to me about what you're focusing on at the moment, like sort of, because I think that's really important and something that's not spoken about enough in the property space.
Okay, so aside from the property being accepted, the offer being accepted, and getting ready to go on that, obviously
I'm talking insurance, by the way.
Yeah, no, yes.
Okay. I thought you were going back to that property.
No, my day to day is obviously insurance. Insurance for a lot of people is far from sexy. It's boring even, but there's two sides. So there's a side where I have my own team, so I'm like recruiting and giving others the opportunity to earn well. Like, I'm not going to sit on here and pretend. Life is good. Like, life is really good, and insurance.
Wow.
For the most part, no, but
hey, listen. So if you need finance, you know where to go now, everyone.
No. I'm definitely not an investor or angel investor yet. But what it is, I want people to know that there's different roads to making ample money. Do you know what I mean? It's not, people don't think, the insurance sector, but you can step into the insurance space and do extremely well, like with no previous experience. So especially in the property world, Cyrus, sorry, he's trying to be like me, Cyrus distracting me. So when you are an entrepreneur, insurance, like personal insurance and business insurance, is something that it's like people just go from here to way over there without it, and it's the safety net. So it can, if you have the right insurances in place, like there's nothing that could financially happen to you or your business that you couldn't handle.
Okay, so give me like key type, because I'm sure a lot of people are not fully aware of the type of insurance. So give me like the types of insurance and what they are and what their purpose is.
Okay, so let's go like you by yourself without the business.
Yes. Yeah.
You have probably a lot of mortgages. You need life insurance for each mortgage. So a lot of people think that when the bank talks to them about it, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever, that's annoying. However, what maybe people don't know is that if you passed away, God forbid, before any of your mortgages were repaid, the debt doesn't go away. It goes to your next of kin. So if your next of kin is, I don't know, your partner or your mom or your dad, they get hit with that bill. So life insurance to cover each mortgage for each term you need that. Especially, and then let's say you do let's say you're married or you own a property with somebody else. If I pass away before that mortgage is repaid, Angie's going to have to pay the mortgage. So if I pass away, she will get the amount that is left to be paying off the mortgage, and she'll be mortgage free, and that's it. So that's yeah. So
and what's how expensive is that? Like how?
It's super cheap. So when you're talking about just life insurance, so no critical. So just remember, life insurance is purely if you pass away. This is the people that's left getting the money. So let's say your mortgage is 350,000. You're a non-smoker. You're 28, and you're of average height and weight. That could cost you like £32.
Okay, per month.
Per month. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's nothing that's astronomical. Obviously, there is levels to insurance. Like, obviously, the more you have, the more you're going to spend. But everyone could get a bit of insurance that they actually needed without damaging their bank. After life insurance, you've then got critical illness cover. Unfortunately, the majority of us don't just go to sleep and die at 100. We get sick. The majority of people get sick. That's the facts. So if you get a listed critical illness, you get this tax-free lump sum. So I'm really transparent. I always talk out my business. So I've got 100k critical. So God forbid tomorrow I have a stroke, heart attack, whatever, one of the listed illnesses, like things that people get all the time. I'm 100k. I want my 100k. I might want to go on holiday. I might need to change my lifestyle. I might need to get, if something serious has happened, I might need to get a disability car or extra help with my son. Do you know what I mean? It's just money to give you options, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you can't actually work. Where's your lifestyle still? Your life still has to continue.
Okay, so that you have like a fixed, so you pay a premium monthly, and then you get a fixed amount. Like, should you know, God forbid, you get one of these critical illnesses.
That's right. So I always tell the story. For instance, my hairdresser had stage 2 breast cancer, which is like, she's cool, fine. Had keyhole surgery. They removed the lump.
Mm-hmm.
But she's now 50K up. Now, obviously, it's not, oh, have this, life is great. It's, we're getting sick regardless. And if she didn't have that, whilst the short time that she wasn't able to work, she would have no income. Do you know what I mean? Rent still has to be paid on the shop. Her children still need to go to school. Things still need to happen. She's now in a position where she has a house deposit, something that probably, like quite realistically, wouldn't have been an option for her.
Yeah.
More seriously, I've had a client who had stage 3 lung cancer, had to be off work for a year. He had £500,000 worth of cover, quite a rich guy. And he had to use 100,000 of that to have lymphatic drainage massages. So it's not fun and games, but if he didn't have the money to do that, he probably wouldn't have been able to recover as quick. But he's good now, back to his property portfolio, living his very best life. So,
okay. And then, so what's the difference then between that and, like, I don't know, like private healthcare or something?
okay, so that's my favorite. You know, I'm always telling people and giving them shade about private healthcare. Private healthcare is, instead of waiting weeks and weeks and weeks for the NHS to be like, oh, by the way, you see that lump that you said you had in your head? Oh yeah, it's cancer. We don't want to wait. We just want to, oh, I'm having headaches. You don't really like what the GP's got to say. You contact Vitality, you go private within 48 hours. So like in Croydon, for instance, they've got Aspire hospital. Like, no one probably knows it's there. It's a private hospital. You'll be seen within 48 hours and you can get every diagnostic. So if you needed 100 blood tests, an x-ray, the chiropractor, an operation, that's all under the monthly price you pay.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been sick. Me and NHS have got a really strained relationship. So I just go there, get my code. Yeah, can I go to my private one, please? Private hospital, private entrance, get on with it.
So what's the problem? Because you still have to go is it like referred by the NHS? Is that right?
Definitely. So if it's something, an emergency, if I've had a massive, I did have a massive car accident and you're not stable, you'll get rushed in. Mm-hmm. But with like Vitality, for instance, because you've had to use the NHS, and let's say you have to stay, they're going to send me cash in a few weeks because they were not able to deal with me, because they can't, because it's an emergency. But as soon as, let's say, I became stable from whatever I'd had, I'd get transferred to my private hospital.
So what about COVID,
yeah, if you had private healthcare and you had COVID, once you were stable, if you still needed to be in hospital, you'd be sent to a private hospital.
Now, it's only because I asked. I know like a lot of stuff is, yeah, we do with everything, but not COVID. That's too new and not our problem.
No, so the thing is, COVID is new, but the strain of, because you kind of have to learn science when you do insurance, like the strain of the flu that it is has been around before. So a lot of the providers, like Royal London, for instance, when COVID came, if you had to go on a you would still be paid as though you've had a critical illness. So even though COVID itself, the word critical illness,
okay,
the effects of it are, yeah, you need an emergency fund.
So we've had a couple of questions. One that I wanted to ask you about was, and I don't know if this is a question, it might not be, maybe. It says, and also I can never read anybody's names, so I'm just going to ask the question. Does it have to be life insurance or can it be life assurance?
Okay, so it is a really common thing, but it's the same thing. Assurance is commonly used as a word in America.
Okay.
Life assurance and life insurance are exactly the same thing. They're a policy that pay out when you die. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. And another person asked, they were asking in regards to your hairdresser and like the 50K. Is it paid in a lump sum or is it paid over like in a duration?
It's a tax-free lump sum. So from you've had one of the listed illnesses, depending on the provider, 10 or 15 days later, that lump sum of money is hitting your account. And it doesn't matter if you're able to go back to work. It's attached to nothing. You have a listed illness, you get your payment. Okay.
So we've spoken about life insurance,
critical
critical illness cover, and private healthcare.
um
Um, and
got
they're all effectively something that you would need regardless of limited company or not, as a sole
regardless.
trader.
No matter what how your business is set up or structured, you individually would need life insurance if you're a parent, if you have loved ones or have people that you're financially responsible for.
Hmm.
Life insurance. Critical illness covers for everyone because sadly anyone can get critically ill. It also covers your children. It also covers like things like ectopic pregnancies. Like people have pregnancy complications all the time. It covers those as well. So like there's so many things that we just walking around having, not knowing that we can actually be covered for. Then income protection. So this is my favorite one. No
No,
one's
no, no, no. You said another one was your favorite one already. You can't have two
no, 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 no,
favorites.
no, 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 no.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Was the one I like to shade about. But income
Okay.
protection, what this one is like, how can if you hear about this and you don't take it, I'm concerned for you. So
Hmm.
income protection is insuring salary or insuring your outgoings. So
Yeah.
I earn 5k, I take home 5k a month, but my outgoings I need £2,500 to survive.
Hmm.
I insure myself for £2,500 a month, and that is what I'll be paid until I can return to work. And that's it. And that's just being signed off. So that's like, oh, I've had people being paid for the last year because they had anxiety over COVID. So
Mm.
not having COVID, not being sick, they are anxious about COVID and they were working from home. So they have been being paid the amount that they're insured for the last year because they're anxious.
Okay. So I'll tell you what insurance covers I have in place.
Yeah,
I have life insurance.
yeah.
I have but I have life insurance. I don't have life insurance on every mortgage. I think I have I don't have life insurance. I got life insurance ages ago
Why don't you have it for each property?
because that's just like property insurance. And to be honest, like I'll explain to you why I don't, and then you can maybe explain to me why I'm wrong. But just so I have life insurance, I don't have critical illness cover. I
Yeah.
do have private healthcare. I don't have what?
I'm laughing at this. Black said anxiety. Ignore him. Ignore him.
Please ignore blacks. Always ignore blacks. So yeah, so
You don't have critical.
I don't have critical, and I don't have what was the other one I don't have then?
Private
Was
medical.
that? And I've got private medical and I've got life insurance. Yes, I just don't have critical illness and don't have that's the income one.
So you don't. Knowing you obviously without saying too much. You probably don't need income protection.
Because that's what I was thinking, because obviously my portfolio is effectively
That's
income protection.
that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Not everyone needs income protection once you've
Hmm.
hit once you've hit financial freedom. So when you're no longer exchanging your time for money and your other money is sustaining you, you don't need income.
Hmm.
If you have a 9 to 5, or if you are self-employed but you haven't yet reached financial freedom, then you definitely need income protection. Like it's a must. So the only reason why do you not think that you need life? So does your life insurance cover all of the outstanding mortgages? No,
No, definitely not. It was just like a premium. Like I don't even know if it was linked to a specific mortgage. Like
it probably
I
was.
just
It probably was.
may
I got it like when you did your first or second. They said, "Oh, you need life insurance," and you was like, "Okay."
Yeah, I guess yeah, and I think that it just kind of depends on your attitude towards a lot of different things. Obviously, in an ideal world, you'd like to leave a load of assets unencumbered.
Yeah.
However, I think the way in which I'm currently structuring my life as a whole
Oh,
isn't wait, yeah, isn't to leave like isn't to leave like unencumbered assets at the moment. It's kind of my thing is I'm trying to maximize, the available capital that I have. Also, a lot of the properties, even when they're on buy to lets, I know that I'm only going to keep them for a short term as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So in kind of, okay, worst case scenario, if I pass, then, you know, you just have, they would have, like, people would have to sell the properties and would just take the remaining, you know, the remaining equity in them. But I
Yeah.
do think it is important to have a degree of cover in place for that security. Is there something you could get, for example, let's say, I don't know, I'm sure there's people in here that are like portfolio landlords, maybe have 5 or 10 properties.
Yeah.
Do they have to take out individual policies, or is there anything more encompassing that could cover a portfolio as a whole?
No, the reason why we say, like, FCA regulated advisor will say take it out for each one because it's cheaper. Let's say out a let's say, I don't know, you've got a few properties and your portfolio is worth 2.1 million. So you get a large life policy for 2.1 million. That in itself is expensive. And unless you bought all of them on the same day with the same mortgage in the same term, it's incorrect. So let's say you've got 8 houses, Kaz. None of them, you might have 22 years on one, 11 years on another, 18. So that's why you have, hey, good evening. That's why you have individual policies, because it's cheaper. You can have the house in Sellers is 342k. I've got 11 years on it. The house in Chelsea 750k. I've got 26 years on it. So it's fixed to the specific term of the mortgage, and it's also fixed to the specific type. If they're buy to lets, it will be a level cover, which means obviously at any point in time, if you passed, the whole money would off. But if it's a residential, the amount would go down. So those ones are so cheap. Like, to get a decrease in life insurance to cover a mortgage is literally, it's pounds. It's not a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So then if people are interested, if interested in this, where can they find you? And just bear in mind that not everybody be watching it live. Some people might be listening as a podcast. So like, spell out, where can they find you if they want to contact you?
Okay, so my name is Kelly Upstaged on Insta, LinkedIn and Twitter. My telephone number, my work telephone number, people, is attached to all of those profiles. You can literally call me. My email address is there, so my work email address is on there, and obviously my DMs are always open. I'm really easy to get hold of, unless because a lot of people are like, you haven't called me back. I will 100% call you back. It's just, it's like, life is really, really busy at the moment. There's like in here. Oh, does income insurance cover redundancy and dismissal from your employer? Okay, so COVID ruined that one. So before COVID, there was accident, sickness, and unemployment, but like 13th of March 2020, all of the policies were shut down. So if you had one prior, perfect. Right now, that's not available. That will come back when COVID has disappeared and we've forgotten about it. So nothing at the moment. If you've been made redundant, been sacked, sacked was never covered. Been made redundant. No, nothing at the moment.
Okay, cool. And then you also mentioned potentially that obviously you've got opportunities within your team. Like, what is it you'd look for somebody, to work as? It's an insurance, is a broker? Is that the correct term?
Intermediary, so an insurance broker. So they actually provide full training. Sorry, people, don't call me. I'm on a live. Sorry. There's full training given, so you become FCA regulated, which you sit a week's. It's an exam, but it's an open book exam. So you go through the course and you can answer the questions. You then do 2 smaller tests at the end of that, and you come in for sales training, like interpersonal skill training, and to finish basically the rest of the FCA training. So it's nothing that no one could do. Do you know what I mean? As long as you've got a network of people that you can reach out to, or a platform, or just know how you interact with people, it's very doable. And it's just, there's so much. So once you come in as that, if you then choose to train and do your CMAP to obviously be a mortgage advisor, it's all under the same house. And it's just,
because I know a lot of people, sort of are saying, look, I'm 18 or XYZ, and they're looking to potentially like pivot in their career path. So is it the same contact details if they want to reach out to you?
Just drop me saying it's not a policy. I'm maybe like want to have a chat about joining the team, or just learning how to become FCA regulated, learning like what other products we deal with, because it's not only like we do insurance, but we do business lending. A lot of the loans that came out COVID, we were processing those as well. But obviously we just don't push, I don't know, different platforms I push different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So on here it was just quite the basic insurances, and then if you go on LinkedIn you'll see, oh, she can facilitate a buy-to-let mortgage. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. So yeah, that's over there. Has so many questions in here. Are you gonna read them? Because I'm scared.
Good question. No, I think that the flow of the conversation is. I think in the questions, like there's a lot of questions as well in the question box, but my Instagram is really playing up at the moment. So it's like mixing questions with something I asked in my story, with like just integrating them all into one list. So like if I give you the questions, like one of the questions, once they want to know, can I convert my property into separate flats if I don't want to sell it without planning permission? But that's just a completely random question from a different topic. So all being fed.
Answer, but it's not insurance.
Yeah, it's not. But I think just away from insurance quickly, because you've done like a lot of different things in property. Like, I mean, how did you like? Was there ever a point where you were demotivated from changing one to another, or was it, like how did you find moving between sort of different areas?
When I started staging, at the very, very beginning, I wasn't in, how do I say this right? I wasn't in a position on paper to buy a property in my own name. So make of that what you will. So at that time, it was kind of like, am I ever going to get on the property ladder? And I used to think about every day in my own name, with my poor credit, with a few other things attached to my name. How am I ever going to do this? And it's good to see, like, it's always really important to not attach yourself, but try and find people that maybe are not too far from myself, like you, and you tell everyone, yeah, my credit was on the floor when I got my first house. Rigid, do you know what I mean? So you definitely get demotivated, but it's just about, well, first of all, I believe in my own source a lot. Like, people need to really believe in their own source. Like, my self-belief is crazy. Like, I decide things, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that in a few weeks. And it will find its way because I've decided that that's what's happening. So after staging, I went on, so my mum at the time was close with Samuel Leeds, controversial, not controversial, depends on how you're feeling. And he was like, oh, you can come to my course. His, I don't know what they're called, property.
That's funny you mentioned that, because I recently put out, like, who should I have a conversation with? And a few people said, I'll speak to Samuel Leeds. And then I put it up, like I reposted it to say, oh yeah, should I have a conversation with Samuel Leeds? And a lot of people, particularly people in the property space, so, people that have done maybe larger scale developments or have their own portfolios, have a bit of a profile. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you don't want to associate with him. It's, it's going to be really bad for your brand, X, Y, or Z. And had a lot of negative things to say. That being said, like, when I speak to people and I ask them who've actually been on the courses, a lot of them are, strangely enough, well, not strangely, but are very positive and say, yeah, I had a great experience. I learned this. I've now got 5 rent-to-rents under my belt, or X, Y, or Z. So my thing, when people are like, oh, it's going to be bad for your brand, or, when he spoke to the young guy at Pokebank, shout at him as well. I met him the other day. He was a bit aggressive or a bit over the top with him. I was like, yeah, but that was a young boy. He's going to be speaking to a man right now, so we're not going to get any of that aggression. And the other side of it is, like, I'm always, let me judge somebody from speaking to them, because I'm sure there's loads of people that, like, I don't know that might have something bad to say about me that I don't even know. So I think it's an interesting conversation to have. What was your thoughts of being involved in a program like?
So the program itself, if you're so obviously, first of all, there is an upsell, but that's a fact. Like, you're not going to go to any free whole day seminar, where there's not going to be an upsell. So yes, you're going to be sold that there's another course for 3 days that you're going to get handheld and you're going to learn every last, bit of information to now become a property millionaire. Cool. I didn't go on that one, but I had someone very close that did. So I went to the first exciting, show-stopping first one. And if you know nothing at all, it's 100% worth doing. First of all, it's free. Like, you're going to take in a lot of information. There is a lot of, filler, excitement, building up the sale. But if you know nothing, it's definitely worth doing. And he genuinely, because I know him, like, aside of that, how he started his property career, what he says is how he started it. He did borrow some from his nan. He did get the first house, and that's it. So he's definitely worth speaking to. And he's young. Like, Samuel was, I think, 20.
Yeah.
He was
I was so shocked when I realised how old he was.
No, he's young. At the time, I think he was 24, maybe even 23. Funny, because I'm sitting across from where I first met him, Joe's in. He's young. So, like, when you're seeing all the things that he's done and the presence that he has, this is a young person. Like, now he's obviously got his wife and his 3 kids, but he was married when I met him. So he's done a lot young. So he's worth. I don't think it's, first of all, your brand can't be hurt. You've built what you've built and you've built it really credibly. So you speaking to him can't hurt anything.
Yeah, no, I just think like, I like, even when we have conversations, like, I might think insurance is rubbish, but and I'll have the conversation. I might think it's the best and tell you why I think it's rubbish, because I think life is about, there's always 2 sides to everything, and having that conversation and then making your own mind up. Don't get me wrong, there's some people that you hear about them online or from friends, you think, I never want to meet that person because they sound horrid. But like, I haven't heard enough one-sided negative things to be like, oh, I wouldn't want to meet him.
No, like, if you met him, you would like his vibe. He's very animated and he knows a lot. Like, you can't deny it. Up and down Wolverhampton, that's his bit. He's got houses on top of houses on top of houses. Like,
and I think that's the other side of it. There's a lot of people. There is a lot of like false like gurus on Instagram and on social media, and I think potentially because of his age, it's very easy for the older guys to kind of palm him off and be like, he hasn't done as much as me, and he's got a massive presence, which sometimes can maybe boil down to a degree of maybe a little bit of jealousy. Now, obviously, I know there were negative things, and I'm not going to discount those either, like, because I want to find out about those, because there's no smoke without fire.
Yeah.
However, there's always a balance, and but it's interesting you mentioned it. It was literally just a conversation. I think I just actually potentially looking to arrange that.
That's definitely worth doing. I tell you that's definitely worth doing.
Yeah.
I went on that. It was actually the guy that I said, the rich guy that kind of took his wing. I met him there. So it was like Samuel used to run something called Kingdom. It was some networking for like Christians, like property based. And I met this guy there and he was like, oh, you don't know what rent to rent is? And I was like, no, I didn't even though I used to be an estate agent and used to process company lets, I didn't ever think that
that's what they were doing. You were just doing it like, they're just taking the property and I'm getting paid.
I'm getting paid and it's an easy let. They walk around just, oh yeah, I'll take that. And you're like, oh, okay. So that was on that side of the fence. I was like, yeah, they work. That's amazing. Obviously, I've never from that side then seen the pitfall, because at that time I wasn't doing rent collection, so I didn't know like the grey area with if they're not receiving the money from their tenants, they're not going to pay. Like, that bit wasn't ever shown to me then. So when I broke down what rent to rent was and how, I say cheap, but cheap in the grand scheme of if you're trying to buy in London, the money needed to get into one.
Yeah, no, for me, that side of rent to rent was like the no-brainer, because I actually start like very much like you. I did rent to rent without realizing it was rent to rent. So like I had a family friend who owned a property in the UK but was based in Nigeria. Agents have been messing him around, just taking the mick because he wasn't located in the UK. Kind of just saw what they were paying him, and I was like, I'll pay you this.
I'll do that.
Kind of just did it. And then, but this was so early on. This was, even when I talk about starting property 8 years ago, this was way before that. Like, this was like, I had this from when I was like 19, I think.
Okay, good
And
accident.
yeah, but it was like it was a happy accident, but I didn't know about HMO licenses. So then it was like it's like okay, I've taken a property on, I'm making money, and then I really like as I learned stuff, I haven't got a license. I never got like so then I had to then go and actually get everything sorted out and get the license in place, and then that was like a big expense at the time. But then when you actually think about it, like if we say property prices in London, average property price, I think now is about 427,000 or something like that, which means on a buy to let 25% deposit, you're on about 105,000. 105,000 is your, is your entry requirement, ignoring all of the other costs like stamp duty and legal fees and other stuff. But that's your entry requirement just to get that property in your name. And then to potentially make £600 a month profit after you've paid
What's the point?
your interest, versus potentially getting involved in rent to rent, where your startup capital, rather than being 105,000, could be
Okay.
5,000, and you could get that same six, seven, £800 a month.
That's what my
Um,
5K. It was 5K because I remember when I've calculated, I was like 5 grand. That's it, 5 grand.
mm, mm,
Like yeah, he was like go and find a house. Like go and find a house, and the first one was Worcester Park. I didn't know nearly enough of what I should have known to do it. Definitely didn't have a license, and rent to rent went really well for a long time, and then it went really badly. Like
mm.
if you have a house where the tenants are problematic and then they leave it like void periods, and where I didn't have like a business structure in place, it's now becoming my pocket. So when I
Yeah.
start to pay out of my own pocket, it becomes
Yeah, I think that's the thing with rent to rent now. Like a lot of people ask, like, is rent to rent still viable with the competition, with the current market conditions? And it definitely is.
yeah,
I'll be honest, it's a lot tougher because there's a lot more competition.
hard. I
There's
hard work.
there's a lot more competition. There's a lot more scrutiny on it as well. So because people understand it a lot more now, your contracts, your offering are going to be a lot more scrutinized. But because there's so many people doing it, and there's a lot of people that are not doing it well,
Yeah,
when you do it well, people notice. Like so,
yeah.
people notice if you deliver your offers in a very concise way. They notice if you know exactly what you're talking about. If your contract, is exactly fit for purpose. And so I think for those who are still thinking, how can I potentially start to build an income structure? Rent to rent is still great, but you need a plan. You can't go into rent to rent. Unfortunately, the way we did, very haphazardly, like, oh, let me just get a house and hope it works. You do really actually have to have a plan of how you're going to differentiate yourself from all of these other rent to rent or guaranteed rent providers. Um, I was also thinking
Now,
that with doing something like rent to rent, sorry, go on.
no, I think now you
What was you
definitely
saying?
need branding as well. You can't just jump
Mm.
in. Like, yeah, I literally went, found a house in Worcester Park that had 4 bedrooms and was like, yeah, I'm going to get this. I didn't know about the tenancy agreement. Like, it just, yeah, you can't do that anymore. You would fall, they
Yeah,
wouldn't.
and it's good to be fair from a landlord perspective. It's good. So, like, I'm sure you'd agree that you would want your asset protected and you want a proper company looking after it. So it is good that it's more regulated. There's more sort of standardization within the market. I think, yeah, it's just a case of you really need to make sure you understand the business, because
Yeah,
one thing about rent to rent is, although it's a business, it's also an investment strategy,
yeah,
because that £5,000, if you want to take on a second property, you need that £5,000 again,
yeah.
or you have to wait and save the money up from
Save
your
it.
income to then go and buy another one, which means you're not going to have income. So you do need to understand why you're getting into rent to rent as well. So particularly if you're looking at rent to rent for an income to supplement potentially employment, maybe you need a little bit more startup capital to be able to, supplement your employment quicker. What's this question? I can't read long questions. Um,
Even that from Amelia.
yeah, so I was reading the question. Obviously, the question was in regards to effectively moving out and having to rent, but saving at the same time. I guess really, there's a few things. It's like when people ask about what's the quickest way to save, um, one of the quickest ways to save is to invest. And what I mean by that is rather than just trying to cut down your expenses, try and look at how you can use your disposable income to make you money. So
Yeah.
rent to rent, for example, is something like that. Potentially investing in, like you said, whether it be as a separate, when they say like side hustle, it could be anything. It could be, paying to do a course that would allow you, for example, to join Kelly and work as part of her team. It could be a course to be a nail tech. It could be all different sorts of things. But if you're saying like, how can you save? Probably one of the best ways I would advise to save is actually to invest in yourself in the short term, to increase your saving potential.
Yeah. That's me. And then people always say like, how did you cut down? I'm not a big fan of, budgeting, I understand, but if you can make more, you'll save more quicker. And then if you're talking about like practical things, if you have to, she has to move out. If you have to move out, Amelia, then I would look at shared accommodation. Obviously, it's not something that we all think, oh, woohoo, that's great, let me go live with some people, but it's way more cost effective. So like moving to a HMO, for instance, one of Kaz's
Yeah. And that's the other thing with HMOs as well. The good thing about rent to rent is because there's so many more HMOs and shared accommodation, because rental prices in London, you're looking at about £1,100 on average for rent,
Yeah.
£1,000 for council tax, £100 for council tax, £100 for gas and electric,
Yep.
water £50 in there. You're looking at sort of £1,400 a month.
Yeah.
So because of that, and if you're saying your average graduate salary from a nurse, lawyer, police, teacher, etc., are like 25k, they're not realistically affordable. So you're sharing with loads of great professionals potentially, and because those professionals are now living in shared accommodation, the standards have been upped because there's a lot more competition within the shared accommodation space. So you can find really, really nice properties. Even back to when I was first doing it, I think the one that was on Homes Under the Hammer 2014, that was like a 6-bedroom, all ensuite property of shared kitchen, communal garden, communal living room. And those standards have been increasing sort of year on year, which is great. I do think now potentially, good time to wrap up, but I'd like to speak to Kelly again to just remind us, for those who may be coming late, where can they find you?
So my Instagram, my Twitter, and my whatever on LinkedIn is all at Kelly Upstaged. On all of those profiles, if you hit the contact me, you'll get my work phone number, my work email, or literally just drop me a DM. I'm kind of always around-ish.
Yeah. Amazing. And lastly, what one piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Do what you wanted to do quicker. Like, that's what I would tell myself. Stop. I always just, if I can just do this, then I'll do this. No, just do what it was you was wanting to do. That's it.
Yeah, that's
Just,
what that I try to remember. I heard someone say this phrase and I liked it. Analysis paralysis.
yeah,
When you just get stuck in like overthinking everything and then
yeah.
don't end up doing anything.
Do it. Just do it. You'll make mistakes. I made mad mistakes in my rent to rent journey. It's done now. Did I die? No.
No. Yeah, no, very, very, very true. So thank you everyone that's locked in. We are back each and every Sunday. Obviously today's a Tuesday, but Jamaica was calling. So we are back each and every Sunday, 6 p.m. with a different guest. We've got Muiz Youssef, I believe, next Sunday. He's going to be talking about his journey and what it takes to do flips and BRR deals in London. So if you are interested in that, make sure you lock in, set an alert for that this Sunday at 6 p.m. We've got the hard hat developers coming up. 2 women great in their field, doing really, quite large scale developments.
Oh,
So they're going to be coming on soon.
go follow them.
Hard hat developers. So they're going to be coming soon. And then, loads more people. So thank you everybody for locking in. So I'll see you soon. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.